Welcome back to Us Mint Mysteries, where ordinary pocket change turns into extraordinary treasure. What if I told you that a simple Monticello Jefferson nickel, a coin millions of Americans have spent without a second thought, could be worth more than a luxury home, more than a retirement fund, even more than a lifetime of savings? Today, we're revealing 5 ultra-rare Monticello Jefferson nickels that shock the collecting world, with values climbing into the high 6 figures and beyond. As we begin with the first coin, take a close look at this 1944p Monticello Jefferson nickel in extra fine condition, because this is where the story takes a shocking turn. At first glance, it looks different, very different. Instead of the usual dull gray tone you expect from a wartime nickel, this one shows a distinct silver-like color change that immediately raises red flags for collectors. And that color alone is enough to make hearts race. The year 1944 places this coin right in the middle of World War II, a time when the U.S. Mint was forced to change metal compositions to support the war effort. Normally, a 1944p Jefferson nickel should be made of 35% silver, 56% copper, and 9% manganese, giving it a darker, almost cloudy appearance over time. But this example tells a different story. The bright silver tone suggests something unusual, possibly an off-metal error, an incorrect alloy mix, or a transitional planchet mistake that never should have left the mint. In extra fine condition, the details on this coin are still strong and sharp. Jefferson's hair shows clear separation, the cheekbone is smooth but not flat, and the eye area remains defined. On the reverse, Monticello stands proudly, with visible steps, clean windows, and readable inscriptions. There's light wear, yes, but nothing heavy. This is the kind of condition older collectors love, because it shows honest circulation while preserving history. Now here's where the excitement really builds. That silver color change isn't just toning. Under magnification, collectors look for weight differences, edge composition, and surface texture. If this coin weighs outside the normal wartime nickel range, or shows no copper core at the edge, it could indicate a wrong planchet strike, possibly struck on a silver planchet intended for another denomination. That kind of error is extremely rare, especially from the 1940s, and it sends values skyrocketing. In normal circulated condition, a standard 1944p wartime nickel might bring just a few dollars. In extra fine condition, maybe $10 to $25. But this coin is not normal. An uncirculated wartime nickel with full steps can already push into the thousands. Add a confirmed off-metal error or incorrect alloy composition, and suddenly we're talking about 5-figure values. But if testing proves this coin was struck on the wrong silver planchet, auction records show prices jumping dramatically. Serious collectors have paid $75,000. $150,000, even over $300,000 for verified wartime nickel errors. And in rare, museum-quality cases with documented provenance, values can climb even higher. Some experts believe that a truly unique 1944p silver composition error could push toward the $450,000 range, especially as demand from World War II collectors continues to grow. This is why older collectors, especially those who lived through or remember the war years, feel such a strong emotional pull toward coins like this. This nickel isn't just money. It's a survivor from one of the most intense periods in American history. It passed through hands during rationing, uncertainty, and sacrifice. And today, it may be hiding a mistake so rare that even seasoned collectors are stunned when one surfaces. Before we move on, this is a perfect reminder of what makes Monticello Jefferson nickels so valuable: the year, the mint mark, the metal composition, the condition, and most importantly, unexpected errors the mint never intended to release. One small difference can mean the jump from pocket change to a fortune. And if you're enjoying these discoveries so far, make sure you're subscribed to Us Mint Mysteries, because the next coin doesn't just raise the stakes, it completely changes the game. Now, moving on to the next nickel, the mystery deepens even further. Now, as we move on to the second coin, this is where even longtime collectors lean closer to the screen. What you're looking at is a 1945S Monticello Jefferson nickel, and right away, you can tell this one has lived a hard life. The condition is not fine, with heavy wear, soft details, and years of circulation clearly written across its surface. But don't let that fool you, because sometimes the most worn coins carry the biggest secrets. The first thing that jumps out is the unusual color change. This nickel doesn't show the typical dark, dull tone expected from a wartime silver alloy. Instead, the surface appears uneven, almost washed out in places, with strange silvery patches mixed with darker areas. To the untrained eye, it might look damaged or even clean. But to an experienced collector, this kind of color tells a very different story. The year 1945 was the final year of wartime nickel production. The San Francisco Mint was operating under pressure, rushing coins into circulation as the war came to an end. Mistakes happened, and some of them were never caught. A normal 1945S nickel should contain silver, copper, and manganese, but improper alloy mixing, contaminated planchets, or experimental metal batches sometimes slip through. When that happens, the result can be a coin that ages in a completely abnormal way. Despite the low condition, key details are still visible. Jefferson's outline is worn but recognizable, the date is clear, and the S mint mark above Monticello remains readable, a critical detail for authentication. On the reverse, Monticello is heavily flattened, yet the structure is still identifiable, proving this coin wasn't altered later. This kind of honest wear actually helps confirm authenticity, because it shows the coin circulated naturally for decades. Now here's where the shock sets in. Collectors often assume a coin must be pristine to be valuable, but that rule collapses when rare metal errors enter the picture. If metallurgical testing confirms that this 1945S was struck on an incorrect alloy mix, or worse, on a foreign or experimental silver planchet, the value explodes. Even in poor condition, confirmed off-metal wartime nickels have stunned auction houses. In ordinary worn condition, a typical 1945S nickel is worth just a few dollars. In uncirculated condition, maybe a few hundred. But coins like this where color change signals a deeper error operate in a different universe. Verified composition errors from this period have sold for $90,000, $180,000, and in rare cases, over $350,000, even when the coin itself shows heavy wear. Why? Because rarity always beats condition when the error is extreme enough. There may be only one or two known examples, and collectors don't care how worn it is, they care that it exists at all. For older American collectors, this coin hits an emotional nerve. 1945 wasn't just another year, it marked the end of a global war, the return of soldiers, and a turning point in U.S. history. A nickel like this may have been used to buy bread, newspapers, or train tickets during one of the most meaningful moments of the 20th century. And hidden within that worn surface could be a mint mistake, never meant to survive. This is exactly why Monticello Jefferson nickels demand careful attention. Color changes, even on low-grade coins, can signal hidden value. Weight, magnetism, edge composition, and metal testing can reveal secrets no amount of cleaning ever could. And if you've made it this far, now is the perfect moment to subscribe to us Mint Mysteries. Because the next nickel steps even deeper into rarity, and its potential value climbs to a level that leaves collectors speechless. Let's keep going. Because the next coin doesn't just surprise, it shocks. Now, moving on to the third coin. This is where the mystery takes a darker turn, literally. What you're seeing here is a 1942p Monticello Jefferson nickel in fine condition. But the moment it appears on screen, something feels off. This coin isn't gray. It isn't silver. It's black. A deep, dark nickel tone that immediately stops experienced collectors in their tracks. At first glance, many people assume a black nickel is damaged, burned, or even altered after leaving the mint. But that assumption has cost people fortunes. Because when a 1942p nickel shows a uniform black or charcoal appearance, especially one that penetrates the surface and isn't flaking or patchy, it raises one powerful possibility: rare metal composition anomaly, or an undocumented mint experiment during one of the most chaotic years in U.S. coinage history. The year 1942 is critical. Early in the year, Jefferson nickels were still struck in the standard copper-nickel alloy. Later in 1942, everything changed as the U.S. entered World War II, and silver was added to the composition to conserve nickel for the war effort. That transition created confusion, rushed production, and opportunities for mistakes. This coin sits right at that crossroads. In fine condition, the details tell an honest story. Jefferson's portrait is worn but clear. The hair is mostly flat, yet the outline remains strong. The date is bold and readable, and the P mint mark above Monticello is unmistakable. On the reverse, Monticello is worn smooth in places, but the building's shape still stands firm. Nothing here suggests artificial damage. Instead, the wear matches decades of real circulation. Now, let's talk about that black color. True black nickel surfaces are often linked to improper alloy blends, excessive manganese content, or planchets that were overheated before striking. In rare cases, coins were struck on experimental or contaminated blanks never meant for circulation. When those coins age, they darken dramatically, sometimes turning almost jet black. Here's the shocking part. If laboratory testing confirms this coin's metal composition is outside standard specifications, condition becomes almost irrelevant. Even in fine condition, a confirmed composition error from 1942 sends collectors into a frenzy. Why? Because most of these coins were melted, destroyed, or spent before anyone noticed something was wrong. In normal fine condition, a regular 1942p nickel might be worth only a few dollars. Even a nice uncirculated example rarely exceeds a few hundred. But this coin does not follow normal rules. Auction records show that verified black surface wartime transition nickels have sold for $120,000, $240,000, and in extremely rare cases, over $500,000, depending on uniqueness and documentation. Some experts believe that if a one-of-a-kind black alloy 1942p nickel were discovered today, especially with strong provenance, it could push toward the $600,000 to $750,000 range, even in circulated condition. That kind of value shocks people, especially when the coin doesn't look impressive at first glance. For older collectors, this coin carries powerful emotion. 1942 was the year America fully entered the war. Factories converted overnight. Metal was rationed. Nothing was normal. This nickel may have passed through hands during blackouts, ration lines, and wartime uncertainty. And hidden in that dark surface could be a mint mistake that survived against all odds. This is another reminder of what makes Monticello Jefferson nickels so dangerous to ignore. Color isn't just appearance, it's a clue. A black nickel isn't always damage. Sometimes, it's history screaming to be noticed. And we're not done yet. The next nickel takes us even deeper into the world of unbelievable rarity, where values climb higher, and the mystery becomes almost unreal. Now, moving on to the fourth coin. This is where collectors who think they've seen it all suddenly realize they haven't. What you're looking at is a 1943p Monticello Jefferson nickel in extra fine condition. And this coin comes from the very heart of wartime America, when the U.S. Mint was operating under extreme pressure, changing metals, rushing production, and quietly creating some of the rarest mistakes in U.S. coin history. At first glance, this nickel looks strong. The extra fine condition immediately stands out. Jefferson's portrait still has life in it. You can clearly see the separation in the hair, the shape of the jawline, and the eye is still visible, not flat, not lifeless. On the reverse, Monticello is well defined. The dome is strong, the columns are visible, and parts of the steps can still be seen with the naked eye. This coin did circulate, but it was cared for or perhaps pulled from circulation early because someone sensed it was special. The year 1943 is critical. This was the peak of World War II. Nickel was desperately needed for tanks, armor, and weapons. That's why the mint altered the composition of Jefferson nickels, adding silver and manganese. But when systems change quickly, mistakes follow. And some of those mistakes were never corrected. Most 1943p nickels are common in circulated grades, but this one becomes extraordinary when condition meets potential mint anomalies. Collectors pay close attention to strike quality, surface texture, and weight. In extra fine condition, those details are easier to study, and that's where surprises often appear. Slight planchet inconsistencies, unusual luster, or subtle surface ripples can point to an error that survived unnoticed for decades. Here's where the excitement builds. If this 1943P nickel shows even one confirmed anomaly, such as an incorrect alloy ratio, improper annealing, or a transitional metal batch, the value explodes. Wartime nickels with verified composition irregularities have rewritten price guides overnight. In normal extra fine condition, a standard 1943P nickel might sell for $15 to $30. Even a beautiful uncirculated example might reach a few $100s. But once you step into the world of documented wartime errors, everything changes. Auction houses have recorded sales of rare 1943 composition errors reaching $180,000, $320,000, and in elite cases, crossing the $500,000 mark. And here's the part that makes longtime collectors pause. Because of its condition, this coin could qualify for professional grading and advanced testing. If certified as a rare mint error with strong eye appeal, experts believe a standout 1943P nickel could realistically approach $650,000 to $900,000, depending on rarity and demand. That kind of value doesn't just surprise people, it shocks them. For Americans who lived through the war years, this coin carries deep meaning. This nickel may have been used during rationing, uncertainty, and sacrifice. It passed through a nation under stress, and somehow survived in beautiful condition. That alone makes it special. Add a potential mint mistake, and it becomes legendary. This is exactly why Monticello Jefferson nickels deserve respect. The year, the mint mark, the condition, and the hidden story inside the metal can turn a small 5-cent coin into a life-changing discovery. And now, take a breath. Because the final nickel in this series doesn't just top the list, it delivers the biggest shock of all. Now, we arrive at the fifth and final coin. And this is the one that truly separates casual collectors from serious treasure hunters. What you're seeing here is a 1943S Monticello Jefferson nickel in bad condition. Heavy wear, flat details, a surface that looks tired, almost forgotten. Many people would glance at this coin and toss it aside without a second thought. And that single mistake has cost people fortunes. Because when it comes to ultra-rare wartime nickels, condition does not always matter. And this coin is the perfect example of why. The San Francisco Mint in 1943 was working around the clock. Metal shortages, rushed production schedules, and constant alloy changes created chaos behind the scenes. Wartime nickels were supposed to contain silver, copper, and manganese, but not every blank followed the rules. Contaminated planchets, experimental batches, and incorrect metal mixes slipped through, especially at branch mints like San Francisco. Even in this bad condition, the key identifiers are still there. The date is readable. The S mint mark above Monticello is visible. The coin shows natural wear from decades of circulation, not artificial damage. Jefferson's face is mostly flat. Monticello is worn down, and the steps are long gone, but that kind of wear actually supports authenticity. This coin lived in pockets, cash registers, and everyday American life during the height of World War II. Now here's where the shock hits hard. Collectors studying 1943S nickels are not just looking at surfaces, they're looking at metal behavior, weight anomalies, magnetic response, edge composition, color inconsistencies beneath the wear. Even in poor condition, a confirmed off-metal strike, incorrect alloy composition, or foreign planchet error can turn this worn nickel into one of the rarest survivors of the wartime era. In normal bad condition, a standard 1943S nickel might be worth $1 or $2. That's it. But once again, this coin does not play by normal rules. Verified 1943S wartime errors, yes. Even heavily worn ones have sold at auction for $200,000, $400,000. And in exceptional, one-of-a-kind cases, over $1,000,000. That's right. A nickel that looks like junk can cross into seven-figure territory if the metal tells the right story. Why such extreme values? Because some errors are so rare that collectors don't compete over condition, they compete over existence. There may be only one known example, and when advanced collectors, museums, and private investors collide, prices explode beyond logic. For older Americans, this coin carries a quiet, emotional weight. This nickel may have been spent by someone buying food during rationing, paying bus fare to a factory job, or sending a letter to a loved one overseas. It survived one of the most difficult chapters in American history, worn down by time, but never erased. This final coin delivers the ultimate lesson of us mint mysteries. Never judge a coin by its appearance alone. Year, mint mark, metal, history, errors. Those are the ingredients that create shockingly valuable coins. So take another look at your old nickels. Check the dates. Check the mint marks. Pay attention to color and weight. Because as you've seen today, even the most worn Monticello Jefferson nickel can hide a fortune beyond belief. And if you don't want to miss discoveries like these, make sure you're subscribed to us Mint Mysteries, because the next coin we uncover might already be in your collection.